Welcome to another episode of Real Talk All Sport here in Teddy's place. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us at YouTube as well. You can find us on TikTok as well, which the Stephen Island video we did last week got a lot of views.
Okay, I like that.
People have been remembering the same way we did.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm not sure about this week, but hey.
It's a good one this week.
Yeah.
So you can find us on all those platforms.
So know the new music, we're going to be entertaining.
Yeah,
do you want me to do the little, welcome to Real Talk All Sport. This is Nathan Blake, Dav Madison, coming at you real live and direct. Teddy's Jam.
Do you want to do it now?
Oh, Jam.
Because we've got some new systems in here.
No. Well, you're the maestro, so.
Well,
it reminds me like when I'm on my decks.
So, well, I tell you what, Nathan, you can introduce us again. Then I'll just say where you can find us, which is on Spotify at Real Talk All Sport, or on YouTube with Mr. B Productions -WAL. And we've got this new system here for our podcasting, and it's actually sounding quite crisp as well. Which
it
is
looks
nice.
sweet.
It's really cool. And so what we're going to do now is I've got 3 pieces of audio, which I thought you might like, because in the time we've known each other, you've been teaching me a lot about R&B and hip hop and like your time in the clubs in South Wales and your memories.
The best, man.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some pieces of audio.
Are the fans going to be able to hear this?
And they're going to be able to hear this as well.
Let them judge then.
So do you want to go with the first one I showed you?
Yeah. I like all 3 of them.
We've been looking for potential bits of audio to kick off the podcast. And this is number 1. It's got that funk. What do you think of it?
I think that's class, yeah. I love it.
And then, ready for number 2?
Yeah, Real Talk All Sport. I can come in and talk properly on that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Number 2 here.
That's very Erykah Badu kind of beat, kind of soul, smooth.
Really
Welcome
smooth.
to Real Talk All Sport, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
late night radio show.
Late night radio show, getting down.
So we got that one.
Like that too, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That. And then this is the one I quite like as well. Number 3.
Real Talk All Sport, live and direct. That's more of a Dr. Dre,
Yeah.
sort of 50 Cent, The Game. That's a lovely beat.
I like it. And I found a piece of audio that actually works quite well with number 1. It built up a bit.
Yeah.
There was this one works for it as well, but I'll show you the little piece of audio that I found.
We need to do some music. We
Yeah.
need to break some beats, man.
Out of those 3, which are your favourite?
Ooh.
Because they give different vibes.
Yeah, the
Like-
first one is a nice vibe to talk into. The second one is like, if we're releasing a late night podcast and, it's like quite a smooth topic. Maybe you're talking about family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the third one is more vibrant, a bit more punchy.
Yeah, I get you.
But if you asked me to pick one, I don't know. It depends what mood I'm in. That's every one of those is a
Because
mood
we can
music.
always switch it up. There's no rules. That's the beauty.
Absolutely.
There are no rules.
We're our own gods, my friend.
And I found a little piece of audio that kind of works quite well with number 1. And see what you think about this. So, I need to get the timing right with this as well. I need to get the time right.
And there's an opening here. Franson. Blake! He could well have knocked Liverpool out of the FA Cup.
Okay. That's the Blackburn goal, right?
It was against Liverpool. Against Liverpool to knock them out of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Per Franson.
Yeah. Per Franson. Oh, man.
Supporters and players alike.
I like that, Dave. That's
quite
clever.
good, isn't it?
That's quite clever, yeah. That has totally surprised me. Caught me totally off guard there.
As you can tell, last night I got a little bit carried away.
Yeah, clearly. And it mentions my mucker, Per Franson,
Yeah.
who was with me at Bolton and then on to Blackburn with me. great player, great midfielder.
I looked at that. That was a quick goal as well.
Yeah, well, can't sleep on it.
Yeah. And it works with the other bit of audio as well. So I've got the original piece.
And there's an opening here. Franson, Blake. He could well have locked Liverpool.
That's even better. That's even better.
Oh, look at that.
Take it from someone who mixes and DJs. That's better.
Oh, right. That was so. I love it. Oh, it's a cool song. There we go. There you go. So I can turn that off there. Can you hear yourself now?
I can hear clear.
Sweet.
I thought I was back in the club.
I obviously got a bit carried away there.
You did.
I love it, and it's a beautiful piece of equipment, and it makes this sound so much crisper for all our audience as well.
Yeah.
So we got some good things ahead as well.
Man,
you want some pieces of music? You let me know, and I can provide.
Yeah, you the provider. You the man. Hustling.
So I tell you what, as we're doing that, do you want to do a little another introduction to Real Talk All Sport using 1, 2, or 3? Which one do you want? Do you want?
You pick.
Let's go back to number 1, shall we?
Okay. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk All Sport with myself, Nathan Blake, and the great Daft Madison on the decks, spinning those wheels.
Oh, beautiful.
You like that?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. We've always said a funk radio show.
Funk and soul,
gonna be
man, hip hop. Yeah,
it'll be on its way.
Someone will pick us up, right?
Sweet.
Real radio. Is Real Radio still going?
Real Radio.
Oh,
I remember that.
Yeah,
I was like,
remember that.
I grew up listening
Real
to that.
Radio.
Sport of news. We were literally chatting before the show earlier. Loads of stuff's actually got on in the last 24 hours of sport.
Mad.
So less than 24 hours actually. Match of the day. New presenter has been revealed, and it's not one person.
Okay, I've missed this then. Who is
You
it?
have, because you've been having meetings today as well,
I've
haven't
been
you?
meetings, mad mate.
So it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 4, it's 3. So we have 3 match day presenters, which I didn't see coming.
Okay. Females? Got to be a female in there.
2 of them are female.
Okay. Go on, BBC.
There we go. So we have the male
Is?
Mark Chapman. I think that was.
I think that was pretty obvious.
Yeah. He did such a good job with match day 2.
And he's quality.
Number 2, Gabby Logan.
Top of the pops.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've in my time of loving sport, Gabby Logan has just always been there.
Do you know what I love her most?
Who?
When she does it with like Denise Lewis and them on the athletics, the Olympics and stuff like that.
I feel like that
I love the Olympics coverage and the athletics coverage.
when her and Claire Bolden are on it, I feel like there's like a wisdom of Olympics that just I can't comprehend.
Yeah.
Like, they know their stuff.
My favourite, Jess Ennis, Denise Lewis with Gabby Logan. No disrespect. Those 3 are just magnificent.
And number 3, because I think those 2 were pretty well documented.
Yeah? Who's the third?
Well, the third one is Kelly Cates.
Kelly Cates, young Dalglish.
Which I had no idea was Kenny Dalglish's daughter.
How can you not know that?
I don't know. It just never crossed my...
Maybe because the name isn't Kelly Dalglish. It was once upon a time. But again, magnificent. Brilliant presenter.
So you're happy with those presenters who are coming and like having three?
It's like blasphemy. My grandmother turning in a grave. Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
I was going to say, oh yeah, but no, it's nice, and it's nice to have like fresh, different faces, like a little bit of a merry-go-round. Yeah, nice. I love that. It's
nice,
wicked.
Awesome, and also that happened in the last
more
24
women.
hours.
That's what we want. Women led the country, but women don't be like men. Be women.
Don't be us with the worst. Yeah, and then also the last 24 hours, you were watching the game yesterday. I was watching yesterday was Nottingham Forest 1, Liverpool 1.
Yeah, let me explain something first. Sorry to cut across your dad, but I tried to watch Cardiff, right?
Yeah.
And then switched over just to have a little, got 10 minutes into the Cardiff game and switched over, or 15 minutes switched over. And it was just starting, Forest, Liverpool. Atmosphere. I'm just a junkie for it. I just unfortunately, it's dead down the city. It's dying.
Yeah.
They said, terrible, man. But
And I guess as a footballer yourself as well, that having that atmosphere brings back that nostalgia and like what you love about the game.
It's everything. Like if you have 1,000 fans screaming at you or 50,000 fans screaming at you, you go St James's Park, Old Trafford, these places, when the fans are with you, behind you, like we've seen it. Look, it's every stadium. Seen it at Cardiff City Stadium where Wales games and when Cardiff have been successful. You know, when you've got a good thing going and the fans can carry you to victories. They can lift you to a victory.
Well, I remember I was chatting to a colleague the other day, and it's the equivalent of, and it was a really good like picture they painted, was the fans suck the ball into the net.
Yeah, they do. It's like, do you know when you will something, like people say, oh, don't say that, or you'll will it in. Like there's 30,000 willing you to like score, pushing you. And like every time you run a bit harder or tackle or hit the post or corner kick and that, you hear the crowd go up. It sends all these little tingles through your endorphins and makes you just puts you on a higher level. So so important.
And then with Nottingham Forest, because they're also a club that are doing really well, but they're quite a likeable club. Nobody's. I feel like unless you're like Leicester, people don't. Or Derby.
Yeah.
People don't mind. They're like, yeah, right, go for it.
Yeah, no, it's a great club, obviously because of the Cloughie thing, right?
Yeah, of course.
And Big Stan Collymore.
There's some work going on there. Is that downstairs or was that a helicopter?
That sounds like a ghetto bird, as we call them.
Well, in Teddy's, you never know where we are.
That was a ghetto bird, I think. Yeah. Sorry, what were we saying?
Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, sorry.
What are they really likeable club.
Yeah.
What are they doing so right? Because we rewind like
3 years.
3 years ago.
When they went to the Premier League, signed all those players.
And Steve Cooper.
And the owner was getting absolutely trashed for it, right? And even I was thinking, God, that's like 20 odd players. That's crazy. But it's proved to be successful, right? Because ultimately they stayed in the league. And they stayed a second. This is their third season, I think, in the Premier League.
Yeah, it'd be third.
So, and now they're in the top 4.
And they fired Steve Cooper as well.
Yeah, and people were going, because he did
a great job.
Great job. But there's levels, and you have to say, no matter how you look at it, Nuno's taking them to, because they look. I had this conversation, fair enough, with my son last night. I feel like if Steve Cooper was there, I look at the squad and think, would they still be maybe in amongst that sort of relegation end of the table? Whereas I think under Nunes, they've kind of pushed to a next level, and listen. Like I said to you earlier, they took 4 points off Liverpool, man.
That's, especially top of the league.
That's telling you we're serious, right?
That's mad.
I think most people would have thought, the first game was a fluke. If you watched the game the other night, then you'd think, actually, they're definitely a top 6 team.
And what are they doing that's so right? Because if you look at their squad, they've signed a load of players, and with no disrespect, the players that I didn't know about, from kind of further afield, they signed in that kind of melee of madness of signing people where you just kind of look, you're like, oh, they're at Forest as well. They signed the likes of Elanga from United, Hudson-Odoi from Chelsea, who had that prospect of being good players, but maybe at like 22 didn't kind of feel like they fulfilled it. And then they've got Chris Wood up top, who is a big, strong striker. Not necessarily like he's known for scoring goals in the penalty area, but not at the same level as like your Kanes, your like anyone like that. Not like a prolific goal scorer. What are they doing that so
Yeah,
right?
I think sometimes you can look at the team, a player, an individual, like, and go, like Alanga, or he's like Man United fans were saying like, oh, he's not good enough for us. But I don't think you give time for that player to develop in the Premier League, to become a Premier League like player. I think we're all so used to wanting to see the amazing abilities of that player right off the bat.
You want teen talent.
Right. And I think like, well, give the player time to develop. Like, ask United fans now, would they rather have Anthony Alanga or Anthony?
Yeah. Well, I'd be picking Alanga.
I would pick Alanga, and I think probably 80%, 90% of United fans would pick Alanga. I know my son would. Yeah. So I think sometimes you have to give things time to develop a bit, and not be so, hell-bent on, judging right off the bat. I mean, what's the little winger's name?
On the
Man
other,
United, what's his name?
Dallo.
No, the winger, Ahmad.
Yeah,
So he's just come,
Ahmad Diallo.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
sorry, yeah. So
No worries.
he's just come to fruition this season.
After spending like time on loan at Sunderland in
And
the
he's brilliant
Championship.
at Sunderland. But I'm like, well, was he really in the plans of the last manager and this manager? Because he's played his way into their plans rather than they were going, oh, right. I think if someone come along and gone, here's 20 million for him last season,
Yeah.
they would have taken it. Right?
That's so true.
But now they're looking and going, whew, thank God we never. He's one of our best talents.
And realistically, if you're United and you've got a player who's 21, 22 playing in the Championship, you're not necessarily thinking they're coming back to us. 'Cause
No.
you're maybe a 17, 18, 19-year-old,
Yeah.
but 21, 22, you're thinking
Yeah.
they need to be up to scratch by
Well,
now.
that's more for the thinking of the likes of like those teams who yo-yo between Premier League and sort of Championship. Your Norwiches, your West Broms, your Bolton Wanderers in League One, but they yo-yoed for many years. And so there's those teams like Ipswich and people like that, Southampton, Bournemouth. They'll have good runs. Or Bournemouth's amazing, but they'll end up yo-yoing because when teams like Leeds and stuff get their act together, they're all big old units. They're like historic clubs. It happened. I mean, the club I play for, one of them, Wolves, many years, 20 odd years, they didn't sit in the top flight, and then period of yo-yoing, and then they've gone in and stayed in. So yeah.
And so then under Nuno, do you think that they're going to be able to stay and keep that for a while?
Yeah, I think he's just a very cool customer, and he understands the league.
Yeah, he does. He's been around a while now.
Yeah,
Hasn't
I would say he was probably, for me at Tottenham fans were a bit harsh on him, almost as if like that same one we just spoke about, Diallo, he's not good enough for this level. We're Tottenham. And now you got him at Forest sitting way above Tottenham, right? So maybe then it's, you say, like I've Tottenham fans, like my uncle's a Tottenham fan, saying, oh, it's the, they might say, oh, a bit too defensive. Yeah, but do you want defensive and sat in the top four, or expansive and sat, I think they're 12th, are they 11th at the moment, Tottenham? I mean, and I know it's only at the moment, but I'm talking, I think Tottenham's history and sort of philosophy is a bit of more of an open attacking game when you look at the players they've had traditionally over the years.
And also it is deciding what kind of styles you want to play and how that's going to work out. But when we're almost hitting February now, that's when you actually take the philosophies and the momentum seriously, because if it's your October, November, December, you're like, they're on a good run. Now you come to February, like, they're not really on a good run. They've got something good going.
Well, it's not a fluke, right? I think that's what I'm saying. Like, the first result was people going, caught them off guard early, blah, 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 blah. Liverpool went on and haven't lost. Haven't lost since, I think, or maybe lost once since. And then, second part of the season, early part, you go again, and you could have got 3 points again. Liverpool missed chances, yes. But equally, I think Forest was dangerous throughout the game. It wasn't like, a one-sided game. It was just an excellent game. We started by saying Cardiff City, by the way.
but Nuno and Nottingham, you're tipping your hat.
Lovely fit. Yeah,
Nice.
Really nice
It
fit.
is a lovely fit.
Really nice fit.
Now into Hall of Fame. Do you want to go to Hall of Fame?
Yes.
I love it.
Okay, let's go to Dam's Hall of Fame. I'm not having this one.
I also get sent quite a lot of messages of like people who could make it for Hall of Fame, and I'm actually quite brutal. I get sent all these players. And
Okay, give me a few.
So I've had been sent. Do you know what? The amount of ex-Stoke players that get sent to me for these kind of Dav Matton Hall of Fame, which shows my kind of Rory Delap, Tony Pulis mind, apparently.
Rory Delap was a really good player.
Yeah,
I don't like the fact that he just remembered for a throw-in.
Well, he was a good centre mid, wasn't he?
He's a good player.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could play many positions as well.
Yeah. I always say in the summer I'm getting married, and one of the big things is is themes for tables, and I keep suggesting to my fiance, I'm like, she just wants numbers. I'm like, no, you got to be adventurous. And I had 2 ideas, mixed receptions on both of them. The first one I thought was a great idea was service stations. I think it's fabulous. You've got your favourite service station, Nate, from the amount of times you've travelled up and down the country.
No, that's Rob Phillips. Most of us just don't give a flying.
Now, I'm thinking T-Bay or Gloucester's going to be a top table.
I don't even know. I just like, can I get water in there? Can I go to the toilet in there? Can I get a bite to eat? Great.
And then my second choice, I would love to have done was footballers with long throw, who are long throw specialists.
Are you trying to get divorced or married? Did you say?
Well, she just said no. That's all that she said.
Yeah, listen to the woman, mate. Listen.
And Rory Delap would be top table, even though he is more than just that. But there's so many players. Even when I was looking at, we were talking about Joleon Lescott, because he wouldn't make it into the Hall of Fame because he sold out and decided to go win trophies.
Yeah.
Because that's not what you do in my trophies. Don't appear in my Hall of Fame.
You're an Everton fan, right?
No. But you played with him at Wolves, right?
Yeah, got to be in the Hall of Fame.
But no, because the thing is, to get in the Hall of Fame, you don't actually win anything.
Okay.
That's
So
what makes it special.
Yeah.
But you also played you had a left back at the same time called Lee Naylor.
Nails, man.
He had a long throw as well.
Yeah, a great player as well. And one of the nicest, generally one of the nicest. Love that boy. Love him. And still can just remember me and Kelly Miller laughing at, man, the music used to come on. What was it? Ja Rule? Always there when you call. Always on time. Lee Naylor used to love that tune. He could be absolutely nailed, as in feet hurting, drunk, whatever, sat down as soon as that tune come on, wherever he was, he danced.
But I saw it, I was like, you played with like Lescott and Naylor as well. I was like, oh, that's a good left side.
Yeah.
But first thing, and that is bad to me, I'm like, oh, he's got a good throw.
Yeah.
If I was getting married,
no, he was a good player. He was an excellent player. Young, hard to beat, really hard to beat. And I could tell you some stories about arguments with him and Dave Jones. Dave Jones used to like dig on him a bit. In fact, he did, not a bit. He did. He used to dig on Nails, which I never agreed with because Nails was a really good player. But they played Nails, don't take no Scheisenhausen.
Nice, I love that.
He won't have it.
I love that.
If he thought he was in the right, he just stand up for himself. And yeah, good on you.
Cool. So back to the Hall of Fame, as opposed to a table.
Lee Naylor,
table
put him in there.
Lee Naylor would.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Gotta go in there.
I'd stick him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, gotta go in there.
So this one, you probably agree with Lee Naylor. You won't agree with this one, I'm afraid. So.
You said it was a bit suspect.
It is suspect. So I'll go with the name straight away because it's not going to be the person you think it is. So Fred.
From Newport.
Most people would think.
Fred from Newport. Sold the Caribbean food. Fred and his dread deliveries. No?
No, not that
Anyone
Fred.
from Newport will understand what I'm on about.
I think I know the person you're on about.
No, you wouldn't know.
Would I not?
No. He's a Jamaican guy. He's a lot older than me.
Well, then if Fred from Newport is the first person you're thinking of, the second I imagine you'd think of would be Fred from Man United, who played for Man United.
Yes, the midfielder.
Centre mid. He doesn't make the Hall of Fame, no chance. I'm thinking of the Fred who, if you remember the 2014 World Cup,
Brazil
played up top.
Centre forward. I think the silence is deafening, right? Whoa. What? Like that's so random.
So random. But he is full of 2014.
I thought you were going to say SIHIT then. I was going to say...
He is full of... I tell you what...
That's a bit harsh for your own...
One sec. I think I've got a thing for that. I could have gone... he is full of...
Yeah.
I love this thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't ever dig down on any sort of professional footballer, because at any level, I think there's a lot of snobbery in football. We think it's only about Premier League, right? Premier League. But I know guys who played in League 2, League 1 all their lives, had a 15, 20-year career, successful, won a bit of promotions, had a good career. And I'd say, it doesn't matter if you're League 2 or whatever, to be a professional footballer for 10 years plus is incredibly difficult.
99% of people wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, there we go. So I don't have the zombie. I think part of it as well is playing in each league. So I played in, what was it, the old 3rd division. Then we got relegated from Cardiff when I joined to the 4th division. And then we went back up to the 3rd division. So I think the only league I never played in, I played in all 4 of them. 2, 1, Championship and Premier League and International. Yeah,
and
every level.
To every single league, because you're a professional footballer, is a massive achievement.
It is amazing achievement. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of football snobbery that it's about the Premier League, right? So when we talk about we'll say, we talk about Premier League, we'll say, Nuno's Notts Forest, but you look at someone who's at Swindon, you go, okay, you want to say so-and-so's Swindon Town? Well, I don't know who the manager is. So there's a lot of that, but I'm more I'm across the board.
And leagues is actually a really important part of this Hall of Fame entry, because if people do remember Fred, they do look at him as a bit of 2014 nostalgia.
Yeah,
he got a lot of flack.
He got a lot of stick, Did he score 1 goal, I think, in that?
He scored...
I remember him scoring a good goal, and then
you're right.
People going, okay, see, and then he didn't do it.
And it's a tough one, because he scored 1 goal, but also he scored 1 goal in a game that was a 4-1 win. So there was 3 other goals in that game. Yeah. But he was known as the odd one out. He got a lot of flack. And if you saw the team, you had all these Premier League players. You had your Dani Alves, Marcelo, so a lot of La Liga players, Thiago Silva, Paulinho, Neymar, Hulk, Oscar, really great players. And then you had Fred, who was from the Brazilian league.
And his dread deliveries. Fred, go on. So, give me your justification, though.
And but also to add to this, he was part of that kind of, people remember him for that 7-1 loss against Germany in 2014. In it, the stats are brutal, because in it he failed to make a tackle, cross, run or interception, because that was such a brutal match.
He's a striker, though.
And he's a striker, exactly. I've just got the stats here. I didn't write them. And the most time he actually had in possession of the ball was in the centre circle, taking the kickoffs. So it was a really tough time. And then after that World Cup, he ended up retiring from international football. So a really brutal way. I
bet it suffered mentally from that. Yeah, as well.
A really brutal way to have the European eyes on you. Yeah. But I had a little look into him, because actually in 2015, I went out to Brazil to work for a charity. So long story short, in Brazil, they have half the amount of schooling that we do here. So the kind of youngsters, your young kids would be going to school later in the day, and your older ones would go the first half. So essentially, the older kids would go to school, lunchtime, younger kids would go to school. In that time where they weren't in school, we'd coach football and give them something to do.
That's
Just
great.
so they weren't, they weren't in places where they shouldn't be.
On the favela.
In the favela, yeah, absolutely.
City of God, man.
And the
Great film.
So we used to go and play football with them, and they were astonishingly good. Loads of them played barefoot, and they could smack a ball. But whilst I was there, I went to go and see some Brazilian football play. I saw some fantastic, like, nostalgic players in the Brazilian football. So I saw Fred, saw a guy called Jadson, someone who played for Brazil called Kerrison, Wagner Love, who played for Monaco, Nene, who played for, I believe he played for PSG for a long time.
Before they were.
Before they got like that injection of money. I think he possibly played a little bit with Ronaldinho when he was there. I saw Fred play. Fred scored, and he was unbelievable. And I just couldn't put it into like my head that this was the same guy who was getting so much flack. And so I was wondering, how does he do in this league? Because he also played with I also saw like Alexander Pato that year. The next year he got loaned to Chelsea, and Fred was another level. And obviously it showed that Alexander Pato didn't necessarily have that season that we were expecting. We thought he would be this new person, unbelievable player, and it didn't work out. But in my head, I thought, man, I saw Fred and he was levels
above him.
Yeah, and so I had a little look into Fred. 2005, he played for Cruzeiro in the Brazilian league. He scored 41 goals in 43 games.
That's brilliant, record.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that was 2005.
But that's like Ronaldinho playing at like Carlisle.
Unbelievable. And like Cruzeiro aren't the top of the top when it comes to Brazilian football.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
you're so right.
Yeah.
And so then in 2006, one sec. It's a tiny bit of work. So then in 2006, he scored a goal against Real Madrid in the group stages of the Champions League.
Okay.
So that's a great thing to achieve as well. Not many people have been able to score against Real Madrid. In 2009, he went to Fluminense.
Yeah.
And he helped them escape relegation. 2010, they won the championship.
Okay.
So he avoided relegation. Then
Was
next
Neil
year,
Warnock the manager?
but he won the league. Then the next year, he was their top scorer, despite he missed 22 games.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from, and I mean it's your Hall of Fame, and it's your decision.
I think that's remarkable,
and it is remarkable. But I think he's Brazilian, right?
Yeah.
And if you get in the international team,
then
you have to sort of produce at that sort of level. So, not saying that he wasn't a good player, or doesn't deserve to be in Dav Manson's Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, the stats you're reading out, whilst being fantastic, they're not at the best level of football.
They're not.
So is he a great player, or is he a good player who played in very average league that he was better than? Right?
Yeah.
Because then you have to ask the question, okay, why didn't he move to a league where he could then challenge himself?
It's a great question.
Challenge the public perception of him and become, France's leading scorers, or go to the Dutch league and become one of Holland's leading scorers, or come to the Premier League. And
I think he had a short spell at Lyon, and like you said, it obviously didn't quite work. He must have just loved.
Maybe he just left home.
Yeah, maybe he loved and just loved actually peppering goals.
Yeah,
in Brazil.
maybe just left home. I mean, we could all cite examples of players who maybe grew up at this in their local club, played for their local club, loved their local club, then moved, and then just didn't produce the same goods because the human head is a funny thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I remember you've talked to me before about how good Romario is. And he played in the Brazilian league a long time as well.
Big class.
154 goals for Mario. Fred 158.
So you're trying to say, are you trying to put Fred in the same league as Romario?
Well, I could try.
I should banish you for that. Banish you from the studio.
I just thought it was so funny how you told me about how good Romario, and bearing in mind, not taking into account, Romario also went off to Europe and had a fantastic career. But I just found it hilarious that in that league,
I think
Fred
that's what they say though.
goals.
They say a lot of it is the Southern American leagues, whilst being brilliant, are quite brutal as well.
Yeah.
It's not like a soft touch game. I think there's this sort of idea that Brazilian football is all nice. Those boys don't mess about, man. They're tough people, as we see in UFC, right?
Yeah. That's so true. There's
Very
so
toughly built people, so they have got that sting in them as well.
Yeah, and they value different things to what we do in football.
Yeah,
like the way they play. Like we
different cultures.
We don't grow up playing pana. We grow up playing two touch. We learn how to pass the ball. They learn to put it through your legs.
Yeah, juggle and all that. Yeah.
When I went to go see the game, so I was so good. Managed to see like Cordoba. Saw Atletico Paranaense, Fluminense. I did also go to the Maracanã. I saw Vasco against Flamengo.
Amazing.
We were in Flamengo's end, accidentally wearing Vasco colours, so we had to peg it. Yeah. Genuinely, me and my mate had to.
That's a Favela moment that you don't want to be involved in.
We saw people like genuinely. The Maracanã was mad. We saw people climbing over fences, getting in, and some people looked at us. And they were like, Vascarinas, being like, they're not one of us. They ran to us and we were like, no, we're English. I was like, I've got time to tell them what being Welsh means. But we're like, we're English. We don't know anything. We're stupid. We're sorry. Yeah. And they were like, fine, go and enjoy yourselves. Yeah. But it was just, and like another level, and they value different things. Like they celebrated a nutmeg way more than probably the same way we would celebrate a slide tackle, or they have
or last ditch block or something like that.
Or they have I've never seen this in the Prem, like a Chappelle it's called, where you have the ball balanced on your foot, you flick it over your head and over the other person's head and you retrieve it. They celebrate that like a goal.
Yeah, it's seen as if you do a keepy up in a game, even like 3 or 4, you don't have to do like 10. It's seen as a disrespect and a piss take.
Yeah.
So like a nutmeg is like, it's great, but it's a piss take because even in training, if you meg someone, if you're in a circle, you meg someone, you got to stay in again. So there's a punishment to it because you're having the mick taken out of you a bit and all the lads will be on your case and what have you. So I understand that's just cultural change, cultural difference. But listen, you can't argue with the fact that it's Brazil, right? Greatest international team ever.
Yeah. They probably still remember. They were like, why on earth did a Welsh guy come out, like this guy who's never played any football at like the highest level academy, and they're trying to tell us what to do.
Can't play football. You need to play American football. They're trying to teach these Brazilian kids. I'll make you.
Yeah, the only thing that I genuinely felt I could bring to them, there were so many guys who in Brazil thought they were bad footballers. They weren't. They just weren't wingers. And so you'd be like, no, let's teach you how to defend. In Brazil, they didn't have actual names for right and left backs. They just had zagueiros, so your defenders like your David Luiz, your Thiago Silvas, your Alexes, those big guys, but not necessarily defending.
Yeah, because I think it's part of what Pep has done is bring this sort of expansive control, sort of, you'd say probably South American style of football, right? Slow build up, quality players can do all sorts. So it's sort of like how Brazil won World Cups and stuff like that. I've seen this in the Pele documentary. Like when Pele won his first World Cup, it was more the Europeans were more steadfast, organized, you know what I mean? Flair wasn't a thing, or, you'd have one flair player or one goal scorer, stuff like that, or 2 strikers. But the flair thing wasn't a thing. It was like all about being organized, right shape, right positions, blah, blah, blah. Whereas the American style was far more free-flowing, right? So I think it's just a cultural difference because now you look at our game and you would say like it's always had unbelievable players, right? You always had like Kenny Dalglish's, you always had John Barnes's, you always had like, you know, like Brian Robson's and Bobby Charlton's and Georgie Best's. I'm just trying to name some,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Legends.
Nat Lofthouse, like Dennis Laws, Paul Gascoigne's. You had all these players, like, you know what I mean? So Regis's, like whether it's physicality, whether it's skill, but you always had absolute brilliant, skilled players, Laurie Cunningham, people like that. So when I was growing up, when you got the professional game, professional clubs, you weren't encouraged to be skillful. I always say, if someone does something extraordinary in a game, then the manager would say, "Oh, unbelievable! I want more of that from you." They didn't encourage it in your training sessions and things like that. If you tried something skillful and cocked it up, like, what are you doing? Like that. So there was never, and like where I was brought up, my mate will tell you this, Norman Parcell, the way we were brought up, it was all physicality and bullying. So in my day, you weren't encouraged to be skillful. I can categorically remember doing skills when you played for like, I don't know, Newport Schools or something like that, and like the youth team at Cardiff, things like that. And if you'd done a skill and like cocked it up, like you were like thrown out, basically. Like, what are you effing doing? Get hold of the ball and just pass it. But then you do something which no other player can do, extraordinary, and it comes off.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, well, we want more of that. But you weren't encouraged to do more of that, generally.
You weren't actually trained to do it.
No. And like any skill, you've got to practice it, right? If you don't practice it, then you tend to lose it. So I think it's just a cultural difference. But now, if you look at like your Palmers, your Sanchos, you know, all these young players we've got coming through in the Premier League and coming from championship clubs up the Premier League and what have you. Delap, Rory Delap's son.
Yeah.
Like, incredible player. So, but they're free flowing. They're like the game is so much better now. You know what I mean? You know,
It's
like
like-
that sport. It's got to move
Yeah.
on. It's like I love the NFL. Like the quarterback now. You know what I mean? Lamar Jackson compared to
Wheels.
to like a Peyton Manning.
Yeah, different play, like total, not even play, different athletes.
Well, what happens is, like I was trying to explain to my son, what happens is you think of all the extra revenue and how the game's expanded off the back of that. One player now being able to run and throw, right? So now that gives me, the coach, I can now add another 30 different plays to our game. That expands the game, right? It's the same with football. You know, young Palmer or people like that, they come at the game, they do things like, well, all of a sudden, like I can play him rather than the traditional left winger with a left back. I can play him like as this floating winger which roams all over the park. That it just changes the whole dynamic of the game and makes it more exciting.
It's like you were saying the other, like when we talked about it the other day, it's almost like that inside right. Kind of, you can make them a winger. It could be like an old school inside right, and then they're slowly going off to a 10. They can do. They can. If you got three
Well,
players.
Ruben Colwell played as a 9 last night for Cardiff City.
Yeah.
So traditionally a 10, but played as a 9 last night, and that's as had to for the last couple of games.
And so then, if Fred's in my Hall of Fame,
Hall of Flame sounds
Hall of
better.
Flame,
Burn it up.
that's okay. That's so okay.
I can ask the geezer downstairs for blowtorch. Fred, get Fred up.